My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission is directed by Kenji Nagasaki and tells the story of a cult of terrorists that ruins a city by releasing a toxin that causes people's abilities to spiral out of control. Japan's greatest heroes spread around the world in its attempt to track down the mastermind and put him to justice. I remember seeing this when it was in theaters. It was a solo day for me. I watched it by myself, and I remember thinking that this movie was so much fun, but when I came home, I heard a lot of people that did not either think the movie's as good as the previous two, or they just flat out didn't like it. And to me, after rewatching it, I had to say I still had a really fun time with this film. I feel like I'm in the group of people that think that this movie is really good. It's as good as the previous two. I say it's kind of on par, maybe a smidge lower maybe, but all in all, I still found this film to be a whole lot of fun. I'm a big fan of those old films back in the 90s with Harrison Ford, where he is a guy on the run, government, or he is framed for someone, or you have a character who's trying to put his name back in a good spotlight. Like those kinds of fugitive films back in the day, I really like, and that's the angle that this film takes with the character of Midoriya, as he is framed for a very heinous crime, and he's trying to bring himself back in a good spotlight with the help of another character by the name of Rody Soul, who tags along as someone who is not in the best spot in his life, but is trying to do his best to try and support his siblings. And when you understand his backstory and what he's going through, you understand the conflict that he and Izuku Midoriya have with each other a whole lot more, and they become a great couple of characters to try and see how they're going to get out of this situation in one piece. As always with the My Hero Academia series, the action is always spectacular. I love how grand it is, and especially in this film, it does get a whole lot more violent than in some of the more recent seasons of My Hero Academia. Not that there isn't some brutality in those newer seasons that we've been getting, but from what I watched, this film felt a whole lot more like those first few seasons in terms of the way it portrays its brutal action sequences, and it really gives the final battle a bit of an edge, a bit of stakes, knowing that these kids are getting brutalized here and you're unsure if they're going to make it out of this situation in one piece, which is something that I kind of miss from the new My Hero Academia season. Even though I really enjoy the show so far, I miss the more brutal action set pieces from season 1 to season 4. And this film brought it back, especially with a pretty fun group of villains with this terrorist group that are trying to get rid of all these quirked people believing that they are a stain to humanity. And you understand their plight, yet you don't sympathize with them. They are heinous people that do heinous things, and you really want to see them get their comeuppance. And each of the groups that are part of this terrorist organization that we see try to hunt down Izuku Midoriya and Rody Soul, I think are all really fun groups of villains with nice quirk abilities that jive well with a lot of the action, so to say, really. Like, they fit in well in this world, and they bring a lot of creativity to the action sequences in a visual standpoint. And I overall find myself having fun with the conflict here with the heroes and the villains. Now, one criticism I do have to say is that apart from some of the newer characters, especially Rody Soul, Izuku Midoriya and Bakugo and everyone else, Todoroki, like Uraraka, they're the same characters that we've seen from this show. And by that I mean they don't go through much development, really. And honestly, to me, that's fine. really. I would rather save a lot of the character development for the show, but even from a movie standpoint, I felt like they could have done a little bit more with some of the characters, as some of them were put in the sideline. I know Todoroki and Bakugo are like the two other characters that get prominently featured in the film, but even they felt like background characters at times compared to Midoriya, as most of the focus is on Rhodey and Midoriya trying to make their way through the story in one piece. And I felt like the characters were a bit unfocused in that regard. It felt like the movie was trying to juggle a bit too much than it really needed to. And I felt like if it found a way to really focus in on the characters and have them be more defined, even if they don't have, you know, the greatest character arcs ever, or even a bit of character development, it could have helped make the characters feel a bit more fleshed out, a bit more focused on. The story would have not be a bit sloppy at times, because that's my biggest problem, is that the characters can feel a bit superfluous to the plot, and it felt like they just were there just because they were in the show. I felt like they could have done something like Dragon Ball Broly, where they took out many of the characters, just focusing on a few groups of characters. So if they just focus in on the characters, have them be a lot more important to the story, I felt like this movie could have been even better than the previous two, in my opinion. But other than that, I still found this movie to be a whole lot of fun. I still found the action great. I still find the characters likable and entertaining, especially the character Rhodey Soul. I liked the villains, and I liked how brutal the action can get. The humor is great as always. This is still a really fun My Hero Academia film that I had a blast watching, and even if it doesn't rank better than the previous two for some, I still think this is a bit overhated when I look at some reviews online. It is not that bad, though I do understand some of the criticisms and where some people are coming from with this film. So with that being said, I'm going to give My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission an A-. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.